Hey guys, this is Tauna, or everyone's favorite Cabbage Merchant. I'm here to show off my Cabbage Merchant deck because I've had a few people who were requesting to kind of look at it and stuff like that. So far, this deck is undefeated using the alternate win con. I kind of went into this deck specifically building it around one certain card, which I'm going to show you guys. But as you can kind of see a little bit over here in the corner, I've got an awesome deck box for it as well. That's right, I've got a Cabbage deck box for this. This thing's relatively solid. I ordered it off of Etsy from somebody, and it is great. And sturdy as well. Like, I kind of shake it upside down and takes a fair bit for it to come out. But yeah, I wanted to kind of show you guys this, show you guys basically, the deck and stuff like that, because I thought it was really cool. But yeah, this is the deck box there. Opens up. Got room for like tokens and stuff like that. My best friend is actually making me some cabbage tokens as well, so that way I can use them to track my cabbages and stuff. But if you don't know what the Cabbage Merchant is, I'll show you in just a second. This deck's a little bit hard to get out because of like just the grippiness there. But I'll show you guys, and the magnets on it are really great. Yeah, I'll put the link to the deck box down below as well. But here is the deck. I have kind of invested a lot more in this deck than I probably should have for a funny meme deck. I'm not gonna, I won't mention how much it is, but yeah. But the one thing we don't have yet is the Cabbage Merchant. I haven't actually managed to pull one yet. But yeah, if you don't know who the Cabbage Merchant is, he is from Avatar. He's just a little guy who goes around with a cabbage cart trying to sell his cabbages, and inevitably ends up with, as you can see up here in the background, the main heroes or other people end up destroying his cabbage cart. And his, signature line of "my cabbages" as his cabbage cart is destroyed. But in Magic, this is the special version of him from Jumpstart that is a legendary, so therefore can be your commander. He has, whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, create a food token. That is going to happen so much. You won't believe it. Basically everything, everything except for creatures, right? So you got your instant sorceries, artifacts, enchantments, that kind of stuff. It's going to be easily triggered, and it's going to happen a lot. Then whenever a creature deals combat damage to you, you're going to sacrifice a food token. That can be to your benefit, but ideally I don't want to sacrifice mine. In fact, I'm barely going to be using them, as actual food. I'm going to be using them as a lot of mana. And then the last bit here, which is the most important part for my version of the deck, which is tap 2 untapped food tokens foods you control. It doesn't even need to be food tokens. Add 1 mana of any color. So my deck is going to be based around, and I'll see if I can find the specific card that I've kind of based it around. As you go through, I'll just go through. I've also got inner sleeves on these, and then each card also, except for the lands, all features a cabbage as well. So we've got like the Heroic Intervention to help protect us, make it so, permanents are indestructible and stuff. Land. All right, Idle Oblivion, because of the fact that we're going to be making a lot of foods, so that's going to be drawing us a lot of cards, because every time we create a token, we're able to tap this to draw a card, which doesn't even need to be on our turn, right? We can also turn it into an Idle Oblivion, but I've never done that. Not worthwhile. Heartwood Storyteller to encourage people to, cast more non-creature spells. Or just get more benefits, not for non-creature spells casting. We've got like Doubling Season to get double foods. Pick Your Poison here to make people sacrifice stuff. That is an amazing card. We've got the Radiant Lotus here. Radiant Lotus is great because now, instead of our foods all being a 2-for-1 ratio for mana, we can sacrifice all of them if we know we're going to win that turn to get, and each one we sacrifice, we're going to add 3 mana, which is great. Genesis Wave is a big mana dump. Emerald Medallion to make things cheaper. Seedborn Muse is great because now we can tap all our foods on every person's turn, which you'll get into why. We've got the Obscuring Haze, and there's a few different like fog cards in here as well, just to kind of help protect us, so that way if we're getting attacked by a whole bunch of things, we can fog, keep our foods because we don't need to sacrifice them because we don't take damage. Second Harvest here to get double the amount of foods that we've got out. Again, fog. Feasting Hobbit here, just an alternate way for us to use our foods. We just are able to devour them all, get a huge Hobbit, and swing it in for a win. Fangreen Marauder's great as well, because now whenever we sacrifice an artifact, so if someone hits us, we're sacrificing artifacts, right? We're going to get 5 life for each of those, or just whenever it goes from the graveyard to the battlefield, whether it's sacrificed, destroyed, whatever. So now people are less likely to want to destroy our artifacts because, hey, I'm going to get 5 mana for each of these. Song of the Dryad, just as removal. We've got Innkeeper's Talent, again, to double the amount of counters. Now, this is important. Double the amount of counters. It'll come up relevant soon. Helm of Awakening, encourage people to spend, to cast more by giving it, make it so their spells cost 1 less to cast. Arachnogenesis, more fogs. Hexproof, because we need that. We want to keep the Cabbage Merchant around as much as possible. Santa Steelkeeper is kind of like each time an artifact comes in, surveil one almost. But if it's surveilled and it's a land, then it goes to your hand. If not, it can go to the graveyard or back on top. Rite of Flourishing, I need to replace this with the version of Rites of Flourishing from the actual set. Teething Wormlet to give us some more artifact, get some extra life, get +1s, more benefits from our artifacts as well. So there's also a bunch of infinites in this deck. So Nuka-Cola and Peregrine Took here end up being infinite. I believe it's just those two. Yeah, because then if we've got these out, then we sacrifice the foods here. Oh, we need... what is it? Academy Manufacturer out as well, because then we sacrifice the 3 foods, we create 3 tapped treasures, foods, and clues, and then we can sacrifice them again. So we can just infinitely draw out a deck with that. I think I believe there's 10 or 11 infinites throughout this whole deck. Kaldotha Forge Master is the first piece of our puzzle here, because it's going to be able to tap, sacrifice 3 artifacts to search for an artifact of any type. Very important, because I'll actually sit that one over to the side, because it's important to kind of note down for my game plan is, because there's one thing that green does, which is, tutor up in creatures. We don't want to tutor up creatures here. Stride Hanger also ends up going infinite with a few different things there. Hibernation's End is like a interesting, I thought it was very interesting, tutoring card. Whenever you pay its cumulative upkeep, you're going to search for your library for a card with, creature card with converted mana cost equal to the number of age counters on it, and then put it into play. So at the moment, we'd pay its cumulative up cost of 1. We'd search for something that's 1 cost, 2, etc. Maze of Ith. Maze of Ith actually has saved me a few times. So far, this deck has not lost 1 game, which is really great. Vorinclex. Whenever you tap a land for mana, again, more mana enhancers. Elephant's Grasp is really great, and I don't think enough people play it. It's basically like a ghostly prison for green, which is just unexpected. No one expects it. Tendershoot Dryad, because then we've got like additional creatures being created each upkeep, and then if we've got Peregrine out, then that's a food and a creature being made, and as well as just extra blockers as well is nice. More counter doublers, more ramp. One of my favorite removals of all time, Disorientating Choice. For each opponent, you're going to choose one target artifact or enchantment they control. They can either choose to exile it, or you get to search for any land. It doesn't even need to be a basic land. So you can just either ramp yourself up, or you're getting some really big removals there. Aladamri's Vineyard here, the one from the Secret Lair, the Sheldon's Memory Secret Lair there. Tyler's Provisioner, and here's another piece of our puzzle. A Tutor. This one here is very expensive. Costs 6 mana to get out, then 6 mana to tap it, search your library for a card, any card. Put that into your library, into your hand, then shuffle. Important piece of our puzzle, right? So this is here because it allows us to tutor up this or one of our other tutors. We've got Craterhoof as a finisher. Fountain Port's really great as well because it makes use of the foods too. There's a little bit in here of like group huggy stuff with like Collective Voyage, the Rites of Flourishing, Eleanor. There more token doublers as well. That one's there. It's like a good one. Another one here that allows us to tutor up anything. Mangara's Tome is not great. It is not a great card. When it comes into play, you're going to search your library for any and choose any 5 cards. You shuffle them, put them face down under it, and then you shuffle your library afterwards. They get exiled, by the way. If you lose control of Mangara's Tome, then they get removed from the game. So they get exiled. But instead of drawing, you can pay 2 to put the top card of this from here into your hand. So it allows you to tutor up like essentially 5 things and set them to the side. So Kuldotha can also tutor up this. Either way, well, you're probably not tutoring up necessarily Planar Portal. There is a better version, like a better one of these to tutor up, which I'll get to. But either way, these two let you tutor up anything. The Kuldotha lets you tutor up one of these 3, or the better version that I'll show you in a minute. But here's our MVP, Helix Pinnacle. So far, in the 3 games that I've played with this, I have won with Helix Pinnacle every single time. So, as well as the fact that I absolutely love this art. This whole deck is around just feeding this cat as many cabbages as you can to get the alternate win con. And that's the only way I want to win with it. So, it costs you 1 green. It's got Shroud. It's an enchantment. Pay X, put X tower counters onto it, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if it has 100 or more tower counters on it, you win the game. So the whole thing that we're trying to do here is get as much mana as possible, and with the Cabbage Merchant, that's not too hard, because then we just need to get as many foods as possible. Once we have infinite foods that are untapped, then we have infinite mana, which we can dump into this. So there's a whole bunch of like counter doublers in here. The thing is that it has Shroud as well, which means you can't interact with it, which means there's some that are like, choose target card, double the amount of counters that are on that or something like that. Can't use any of those because it's got Shroud. Can't be interacted with by opponents either because of the fact that it's got Shroud, unless they remove the Shroud somehow. So anything that is like a mana doubler or a counter doubler or a token doublers are really strong here as well, is going to really help this kind of pop off and just make it really crazy. And as I said, every single time I've played this, I have won with this. One of the like, Vorinclex here lets you double whenever you put 1 or more counters onto a permanent or player, put twice that many onto it. So we get to put, like, this reduces it down to just 50 mana that we need to dump into the Helix Pinnacle. And you're not necessarily going to get it in 1 turn. Ideally, you want it in, 1 turn or very quickly after you've got it out, but still. Talongates of Mandara. I don't think enough people have seen this card. When it enters, you can phase something out. I've won the game with this because you can pay also 4 mana to put it from your hand onto the battlefield and phase something out. So on an opponent's turn, I could pay 4 mana, put this out, phase out their big creature that was about to hit me or something like that, and boom, we're fine. For Mori Vault, I really unexpected until the last game I played with this, where I was paying 3, tapping it, discarding something to look at the top 30 cards of my library, choose something, put it into my hand, which is just incredibly strong. Shifting Woodland as well is great because it makes it so that you can play it as you can make it become a copy of something from your graveyard. So you can copy one of these or, something else from your deck as well. There's a bunch of options. You probably wouldn't copy this, but still, there's a bunch of different options that are great for that. Also, there's ways to be able to make our food just tap for 1 mana rather than needing to tap with the Cabbage Merchant, 2 for 1. So Jaheira here makes it so that each of the time we tap 1, we can tap any tokens for green mana. So now all our foods are just mana rocks, which is just incredible, right? Academy of Manufacturers, obviously MVP because, now every time we make a food, we're making a food, clue, and treasure. Silent Arbiter, no one really expected that when I played it because it makes it so that people can't attack. I don't really want to attack with this deck unless I have my Crater Hoof out or something like that, and then I want to attack, and then I don't want this thing around. But either way, with this, makes it so that people aren't attacking very much and, kind of slows the game down, allowing us to be able to get our Cabbage Merchant out, get our Helix Pinnacle out, which I just put back in my deck here somewhere. Wanted to keep it out for reference. Get our Helix Pinnacle out, and then pump this cat with as many foods as possible. He is going to be the fattest cat around, and win us the game that way. That's basically it, right? Like, I'll put the deck list down below. But the whole point of the deck, like the win cons, is Helix Pinnacle. That's the only way I want to win with it. I can win through combat, and with like, we've got stuff here that like slows down opponents with like both versions of Vorinclex there, and stuff to allow us to be able to get to like Craterhoof if we wanted to, or we can use the Knight of Sweet Revenge that allows you to tap it, sacrifice it with a whole bunch of mana, and then each creature you get gets like huge based off the amount of food you've got and stuff. Just basically like create as many foods as possible, potentially infinite, which we can do relatively easily. There's like, as I said, like 10-ish different infinites in here. Have Helix Pinnacle out. Use Cabbage Merchant to tap all those foods, get this up to 100 counters, and then win the game from that. It is the jankiest ass deck so far that I've ever made, but it is also the most fun deck that I've ever played. It is absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad that this deck box just turned out so... Oh, God. I can't even put it on the screen. It's that big as well. Like, the deck box just turned out incredible. I did not expect it to be anywhere near this big. I'll put a picture up as well of the food tokens that my best friend's making for me, because they are just absolutely wonderful. But I'm incredibly excited about this deck. Let me know what you guys think. Have a great day, and goodbye.